as men, many of us know what it's like when we do, share that vulnerability. We get bullied, we get ridiculed, we get belittled. I'm sure many of you have experienced what it's like to say, hey, I'm afraid of doing something like this in a group of men. And then the immediate, kind of piss taking and belittling that you get, and how bullies just pounce on that kind of stuff, because that allows them to feel better about themselves. They can see their insecurities in you, and instead of dealing with it and opening up to it, they do the opposite. They project out, and they're going to bully you, and they're going to put you down to make themselves feel better. So it is incredibly dangerous as a man to share how you're feeling in this world right now. We know what happens when we do that on social media. We get ridiculed, and just look at all the messages that we get on social media. Like, where are our role models now? You have people that step up as role models and kind of talk about community and supporting people, and then they get told that they're a socialist or they're a communist, or we shouldn't be caring about other people. You got to care about yourself, and you got to work hard, and don't care about anybody else. The compassion has gone. That's what we really need to be able to focus on, is how you can be compassionate, put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and what it is really like to be a man is to be like that, is to understand other people, to be compassionate, to share your fears with them, to let people know that you're afraid of doing stuff. And to share a bit of my own personal journey. As I said earlier, when I moved here, I only knew 2 people. It was incredibly scary for me to uproot everything that I was doing and to move to another country. I sold pretty much everything I owned, and I bought a property here, and I really went for it. I didn't even come for a couple of months. I was like, right, that's it, I'm moving here. And I was so lonely to begin with. I really struggled. And probably many of my friends didn't know that, because they just see me as this guy that does it, gets on with it, has had and sold various businesses. That's what I do. That doesn't mean inside I wasn't really struggling. I wasn't lonely, and I wasn't, feeling fear of whether this was going to work, and then how I would look if I had to go back to the UK as a failure, and, would I be accepted? Would I be able to understand the differences in the culture, because they're more different than I expected them to be? So many people, however successful you think they are when you're looking at them from outside, they're struggling. And they have the same struggles that you do. And some of us, we just hide it. And it's time not to hide it anymore. I don't want to hide it. I want to share my struggles with people. I want to share my journey with people, so that you can see that we all go through it. The most famous and successful people in the world, you look at most of them and they've had huge failures. Steve Jobs kicked out of the company that he had himself. Many actors like John Travolta have periods in their career where all of a sudden they can't get work, and all of a sudden nobody wants to deal with them, and then it turns around again for them. During those times they can turn to drugs, they can turn to drinking, other addictions to cope. So we all go through these things, and it's okay, and it's okay for us to talk about it. It's okay for us to share it. Right now we are going through one of the most difficult things the entire world has seen. A global pandemic. So many people struggling to know where their next job is going to come through, where their next paycheck's going to come from. Worrying about their own health, watching friends get ill. People I know have died from COVID. Athletes that we coach are still struggling from having received COVID and the effects of having had it. It's a difficult time. So now is a great time for us to really kind of lean in and change the pattern and just show up differently as men, and enable other men around us to show up differently. The first one of us that gets vulnerable, when we do our group sessions, the first guy that shows a little bit of vulnerability, bam, every other guy jumps in and, hey, this has happened to me, and oh my God, I want to share this with you. So we can role model that it is okay for men to be vulnerable. We can show our partners that, we can show our parents that, we can show our friends that, and we can kind of end that stigma, I do want to acknowledge it's difficult. It's been difficult for me. It's been difficult for my other friends. If we do this together, though, there is a real opportunity for us to really now look at how we want to be as men moving forwards. Like, how do men want to be? How do we want to be represented in the world? How do we want to be with, our female partners? If we're gay, our male partners. Like, how do we want to show up in the world right now? We have this great opportunity. This pandemic is like a global reset of how things should be done. How do you want to show up on social media? Are you going to keep, calling your mates out when they show vulnerability, or are you going to stop and you're going to say, I see you. How can I help you? How can I be of service to you? Like, what would it feel like to do that? This is my challenge to you, men. And my challenge to women is allow you guys to do this. Support them as they try this out. I'm so lucky my wife does let me do that. We have plenty of arguments and we get upset about things and, crap happens to us. We work really hard on supporting each other as we kind of grow and try things out. And one thing I've been trying out is having conversations with people I don't know. I can be quite introverted, so it can be quite difficult for me to kind of strike up conversations with people I don't know. So now when me and Sarah are out, I'll do it, and I'll do it in front of her, and she gives me some feedback and we have some fun with it. So you don't have to be who you are right now for the rest of your life. You have an opportunity. Now is a great time to kind of really stop and go, who do I want to be? Like, how do I want to behave? And how do I want to kind of bring people in around me to behave differently? Like, how can I encourage everybody around me to behave like I want them to behave? Or like, I said that wrong, more like how I wanted to be treated, or even more importantly, like, how do they want to be treated? How do they want to be seen and held in this world? Now we have the opportunity to ask, like, hey friend, what can I do for you? Hey dad, how can I be of service to you? Hey mum, how can I show up to you as a man? So we have this great opportunity, and I'm kind of looking forward to us as men, like, moving forward, changing the way that we behave in the world. Let's see what happens.